Lesotho is a small mountainous country completely surrounded by South Africa. It has a population of roughly 2 million. We have about 1,200 primary schools with a roll of roughly 400,000 pupils. My name is Dineo Pachaka. I am the Special Education Inspector, and I started as a Special Education Coordinator. The Ministry of Education has a policy on special education, and the policy says the Ministry of Education will integrate children with special needs into the regular schools at all levels.
Under integration, what we are actually saying is that our children that are impaired, that have physical handicaps here and there, should be integrated into the rest of the school system. This is especially so because quite often our children are lost. Their parents hide them and they end up not getting anything out of education. And we have found it very, very important that we should allow parents to release them, allow teachers to accept them, and in fact allow other children also to accept them into the school system, accept them as human beings. It's only recently, in fact last year, that there was a legislation on special education. What used to happen was we used to have a general education legislation which didn't say anything about impaired pupils. But then this time they have been, the legislation has also integrated the impaired people in a way, in that it actually stipulates that children with special handicaps should be treated, should be accepted into schools and should be treated and be given the special importance they need.
I'm Lillian Mariga, recruited by Save the Children Fund to come to Lesotho and work with Ministry of Education, assuming a role of an advisor in special education. My role was to assist in initiating integrated education program. We started with a mini study which we spent time interviewing and discussing the approach to be used with key people in different ministries and also key people in the community, and also to find out what resources were available in terms of material and what the special schools were providing in terms of programs, teaching programs, so that we could know where to start.
I am Moses Masimene, the chairperson of Linford, the Lesotho National Federation of Organization of the Disabled. The significance of integrated education is that children develop socially as well as academically within the ordinary living society, because special schools tend to negate, while they can be resources for the children, but socially, there's social deprivation, or so what I call social poverty, in the sense that when they live to themselves, they don't learn other skills from other children.
Following this mini study, we conducted a feasibility study which took us a period of 6 months. We visited 8 districts of the 10 districts in the country and visited a total number of 314 schools. The reason for conducting this study was threefold. The first one was to promote awareness on the ministry policy of integrated education. And the second one was to establish the attitudes of people towards the new approach. And the third one was to look into whether there are children with disabilities in existing regular schools. Disabilities into regular schools so that they can learn with children without disabilities. Do you think that's a good idea?
I think it's good.
You think it's good? Yes. Is it not going to be difficult for you teachers?
I think if we can be helped, it won't be difficult.
During feasibility study, Dineo, Pachaka and myself, as I said before, visited these 314 schools, interviewing teachers, managers, the people in the secretariat of the schools, and we also interviewed parents and students themselves.
We want them to get education, we want to help them, we want the teachers also to help them, we want them to be as educated as we are. We are going to help them because they also have qualities and they can help us as well.
Also looking around the schools, whether they were accessible or not, and to look at the ecological inventory, whether there were facilities that would make life easy for children with disabilities in each school. Are your classes accessible? Do you think a wheelchair child can go in class? Yeah, they are accessible. Thank you very much. The survey was a really very important part of the planning. We managed to look into how we can approach the integrated education. Having learned from other countries, we decided to use a participatory planning strategy and also an innovative way of coming up with teaching materials, which meant involving all the people who matter in the country. The participatory approach was to plan including people in Ministry of Education, Early Childhood Development Department, Ministry of Health, Physiotherapy Department and Rehabilitation, Ministry of Social Welfare, Rehabilitation Department, and special schools. We wanted teachers from special schools, the National University of Lesotho, the National Teacher Training College of Lesotho, the key people in the National Curriculum Development Department. We included parents of disabled children and parents of non-disabled children. And also we included NGOs. We are all on page 10. You know, we dealt with the rest of the pages yesterday. And our reader is Pachaka. We held 12 one-day meetings with this large group to review and revise the notes that were designed for training teachers. The package consists of a teacher guide, which is very detailed, and 4 syllabi in 4 areas of disability that deal with a lot of activities, different activities, and supported by an assessment booklet which has quite a lot of guide on how to assess, and 2 teacher course contents, in-service and pre-service.
What is missing? This is what is missing, all right? One of the purposes of the feasibility study was to select schools which would pilot the special education materials. We selected 10 schools, and the criteria we used for selecting schools were schools which were very positive very interested in studying special education program or integrating children with special needs in their schools. Some of the schools were very negative. They didn't like to start a program at all. Other schools were within reach where children with disabilities from the special education could walk to. And some schools were already integrating children with special needs. And from there, we started training the teachers from the 10 pilot schools identified. We selected 10 schools because we wanted to test the idea across a number of schools across the country.
This is Villa Maria Primary School. It is a country school. It's not in town. It's in one of the districts of Lesotho, which is Kuti. We have a roll of 700 people in this school. When this program was first introduced into this school, the teachers felt they couldn't deal with those peoples. They felt it will be a burden on them. They didn't like it at all, and they said, why didn't they go to their own school and not to come to this school with other children? Because other children might laugh at them, and they as teachers won't be able to teach them because they don't know how to go about with them.
We selected 7 teachers from each of the primary schools going to pilot the materials. And these 7 teachers were from the 7 grades. Each teacher from a grade 1 up to grade 7. We also selected 7 district resource teachers within the catchment areas of the schools. We took them for training, and the initial training ran for 3 weeks. And that is where we introduced all the materials. We involved all other disciplines and all people serving or helping children with disabilities. During this first training, it was very, very difficult for the unit to really convince teachers about the idea of integrated education. Some of the teachers, especially from the very negative schools, were not happy that their schools are going to pilot the materials. But during the first week of training, they stopped us and said, let's share the ideas. And it was at this moment that they started feeling sorry for what they've been doing, that is refusing to admit children in their schools. And that showed that their attitudes have been changed.
The teachers now have changed their attitude. They like these children. They work with them patiently. They help them. They are the part of us now. We feel they are part of us. Even their parents feel the same way as we feel, because we had some meetings with the parents. We tell them that they must change their attitudes towards their people, towards their children, and we also teach them how to go about with them.
Our pilot period was 18 months, but done on 6-month basis. The second training workshop was a feedback workshop which lasted for a week. And in this workshop, we are trying to establish teachers' attitudes after using the materials for a period of 6 months. And in the last workshop, which ended the 18th month, we called all the teachers and reviewed the materials page by page. And that workshop lasted for a period of 2 weeks.
I think they are interested to come to the workshops because there are lots of things that we learned, things that we didn't know. We did some of the things through ignorance. For example, if a child would hold a book here, would say, oh, stop that, hold it in the right position. And since we went to the workshops, we learned that there is no good position for one to hold a book. Everyone has his own way of holding a book, depending on the nature of his vision. So now we are interested to come to the workshops because in every workshop we learn a lot and we become a changed teachers.
We supported the teachers by visiting the schools on 6 weekly basis and spending enough time in each classroom, helping them to carry out screening and designing individual education program for each student, and also asking them to discuss programs with parents. The team from the special education unit consists of Dineo Pachaka, who is the inspector, and 2 assistant inspectors, Mr. Mweletsi, who is in charge of the hearing impairment, and Mrs. Hatledi, who is in charge of visual impairment, and I am the 4th person, Lillian Mariges, an advisor. During training, the district resource teachers were part of the group that was trained, and they also supported the teachers on day-to-day basis in the 10 pilot schools.
You want to sign with pumpkin. That's the way we sign pumpkin. Let me show you here. No, don't close your... Children, if teachers have a problem with children with different disabilities, I normally have them to draw the IEP, meaning Individual Education Program for the children. If a teacher has helped the child to sign in case of not hearing, it means the parent has to come to school also, at least to have the basic of sign language, so that she or he is able to help the child at home.
We try to raise awareness in disability issues through gatherings like PITSOS, mass media, newsletters, and also we visited places wherever there was any gathering. We joined them and promoted awareness on the policy and the approach we were using on integrated education.
Prior to training, we established special education assessment team. The role of this team was to visit school with us, train teachers on how to assess children with disabilities. We also established the referral system. These were the specialists who had the technical know-how. If teachers identify children with disabilities in the schools and suspect that they have certain disabilities, they refer them to the specialists to confirm whether there is such a disability. The specialists were eye specialists, physiotherapists, and audiologists.
If we don't have the sense of hearing, the speech will never develop. So at the age of 2.5, definitely a normal child has to speak. So if a child does not speak by the age of 2.5 to 3, definitely we find that there is some abnormality in the child, and then we bring the child for the hearing testing and find out what exactly is the problem. Maybe a middle ear infection, or whether it is a sensory neural deafness, or whether it is a mental retardation, and depending on that we treat the child.
After the 18 months of piloting and the training which was ongoing, we realized that we need to equip these teachers with specialist skills. We ran 2 one-week workshops on Braille and sign language. That we realized that that was not enough. We also identified 6 teachers from the pilot schools together with 1 officer and assistant inspector in the area of visual impairment, and sent them for training at Optima College. And this team is now taking charge of training other teachers on visual impairment.
The training which we are having today, it's about visually impaired children. It's nice to have that and to be together with other teachers. And you know, when you train other people, you gain more, and you are also gaining something from them. So it's nice to share ideas with other teachers.
The trained teachers felt that the neighboring schools need to know also about special education. So the district resource teachers as well as teachers organized workshops themselves and trained teachers in the neighboring schools.
I usually have mini workshops, that is school to school workshop. And I'm planning therefore this time that I have a mass workshop that will have to be attended by all my schools I'm working with. I'll have to cover up the topics like physically handicapped children, blind children, and children with hearing impairment.
After implementing the integrated education program for about 3 years, evaluation was carried out by external and internal evaluators who reported that the approach was appropriate, the program was viable, the materials were viable, and the teachers' attitudes were changed, and that their skills and knowledge in helping students with disabilities were very much improved, and also that generally the program was a success.
There were problems when implementing this program in Lesotho. There was a national political instability in Lesotho, which really made the program go very, very slowly because we are not able to touch certain areas. Another major problem was the change of key people in the Ministry of Education. The third problem was there was shortage of human and material resources as well as financial. The unit started with no budget, and it was very, very difficult to really implement the program. The fourth problem is the buildings are not accessible for people who are using wheelchairs. We have buildings and classrooms with high steps, and people with disabilities cannot really reach those places. The final problem is lack of assistive devices such as wheelchairs, walking frames, glasses, hearing aids. Even where they are available, they are very expensive and parents cannot afford to buy them.
We have a handicap in our system, in that the whole system of education in Lesotho is very much examination oriented, to an extent that teachers teach the pupils for an examination. And for the handicapped people, it's very difficult for teachers to accept them like that, because to some extent they tamper with the pace of teaching, because they may be slow learners or this and that, which would actually stop them from getting the expected result, examination result. But personally, or as a ministry, we feel that there is more to education than just the examination. That very mingling together, that very social mingling is an education by itself. I feel strongly that such a change in the curriculum and a change in the approach of the curriculum would actually not only help the physically handicapped children, but it would also help the normal children, but without any academic aptitude.
The impact of the program came from very careful planning. We also had an impact on acceptance by the government, in that we started without a budget because they realized we were doing a good job. There was a budget included in their planning for integrated education. Another impact is in the change of attitudes of the society, the whole society, from teachers and parents. And another impact is in the linkage. We strengthened our links with the other service providers, like the umbrella organization for disabled people and community-based rehabilitation, and also the special schools.
My name is Mary Patisi. I am the principal of this center. Some of these children are blind and some are partially blind. By being partial is that they can see a little light. Some are losing their sight, but some, they've got that low vision. The children stay at the hostel, at the center. In the morning, those who are integrated from class 3 to class 7, they go to school, to the nearby school, which is St. Benedict. And they come back after school, even during the school hours, if there is some work which we have to transcribe, like the one I was just doing now here. They bring the work, we transcribe it into Braille, or we transcribe it into normal handwriting. In future, I don't think we'll need more places like this one. What is the intention is that this center could remain as a center where we begin to teach them Braille, and we would like them to be taught from their families, more especially those who are from places where the schools are very, very near to their homes. We can have this visiting teacher program. It's very cheap and easier. And at the same time, parents, you know, even the child himself, he will learn being with the parents, and the parents, we are educating both the parents and the community to accept this disability, whatever, any disability.
Although the program was a pilot program, from the outset, sustainability was our major concern. So from planning level, we included people from the National Teacher Training Program. And after evaluation, the evaluators felt that the program could now be integrated in the National Teacher Training College program.
Special education really has not featured in the country in pre-service teacher training. But I think in the context of basic education for all, the college has found it very necessary to explore ways in which, maybe very slowly and cautiously, we could begin a teacher training program, a special education teacher training program. Something that will be good for teacher training in Lesotho. I think we'll be able to produce what I would call a complete teacher, if there's anything like that. A teacher who not only can deal with students that don't have problems, but we want a teacher who will handle students with problems
of various kinds, because we have students, I mean, they are different, the students, and the teacher, similarly, in his teaching, must have a differentiated kind of approach. So I think such a module will enable us to produce much more complete teachers.
We have reached the end of our pilot period, and now, as the evaluation says, the program needs to be expanded. And that is a big challenge to us as the special education unit, looking at other areas, looking at the number of schools we have. That is going to take a long time. However, we feel very confident that with the 77 trained teachers, we are going to take off. We are also very, very grateful of the assistance that Lillian Mariga gave to the Minister of Education.
Where that be?
Children with disabilities should not be hidden away. Their impairments are not caused by witchcraft or evil spirits. Disability can happen to any family. Yet this mother's feelings of shame are shared by many parents in Lesotho.
And it's only recently that people knew that she had a disabled child. At first she was afraid. She thought people would laugh at her and say she's got a child with a disability. She used to be very shy. She couldn't even take out her child out of the house. All her child knew was the four walls of the room she was always lying in, sleeping the whole day, doing nothing. But because of this organization, she took out her child out of the house. She always goes with her to church and walks around with her, takes a walk with her in the evenings sometimes, and sometimes she goes shopping with her child.
She
says she would like her child to go to school with other children. She would very much like to see her child going to school.
But it is not just parents who need to change their attitudes. People in the community must play their part too, as this teacher explains.
My people of my country, Lesotho as a whole, I say here we are having a great deal of integrating. We have to, like people, they need our love, they need whatever we need. They need to play with us, they need to do whatever we do. So they should bring them to schools, to the village. They should be exposed to everyone who is of a good will. I am a teacher. I never find the class without a child with a disabled. So always I tried to help them according to their abilities, how they are, how the God have created them.
But many teachers may feel unable to teach children with disabilities.
Can I manage to teach a child with special needs, a person who doesn't see, a person who doesn't know? Am I going to be able to do that? And I find that no, I cannot be able to do that.
I did not like helping children with disabled. I thought this is going to give to overload the teachers with people with disabled.
But once these teachers took part in a training course, their attitudes changed.
It was a 3 weeks course at Morija. But surprisingly enough, even before the end of the week, my attitudes were totally changed. You know what? We were ignoring these children at home, at school. We were saying that they are stupid, they cannot be together with other children, and they are not supposed to go to school. They are supposed to stay at home. We didn't know that they are also supposed to be educated. They have a right to be educated. Even in class, we were ignoring them. We didn't have methods. We didn't know which methods of teaching can we use.
I have the method of approaching a disabled child. I can teach a disabled child. I don't think it's wise to send the pupils from their home, from their schools to special schools, only because of there is some many disabilities, disadvantages rather. To separate a child from his parents, from his brothers, from his colleagues, to send it to a new place, I think that child is not going to work well. I think it's really expensive to send such a child from home to a special school. Since this program started, most parents are staying with their children at their home. I think I like that.
Managers of schools and head teachers are also willing to have children with disabilities attend their schools.
After meeting the special education officers, I realized that it is necessary that these children with special difficulties can do very well with our children here at this school, because after telling them that these children with problems are their brothers and sisters, well, they accepted them and they are always ready to help them. The managers, I would advise them to encourage parents to bring their children to schools, or to integrate with the other children, because these children feel happy. Now they feel that they are being recognized, and they see that they are able to do many things. We realize that some of these able children are much clever than those which have not got problems.
In the school we have a disabled student. He's a boy called Katiso Koza. He joined the school last year. He does best in English, Sesotho, and also bookkeeping, those three. He seems to be adjusting himself very well in the school. We were afraid because physically he wasn't able to hold or turn back, but with practice he is now used to climbing up even the steps. He has no problems getting to the toilet, even holding his utensils at lunchtime, because they take lunch here. He fits well. He's a very friendly boy, because even with some movements he wants to join. Unfortunately he cannot run about, but lately he got a friend who even offered to stay with him in his house. If any head teacher were to take a disabled student into a school like this boy, I would encourage him to do so. I was panicking at first, but sitting down and talking to the boy, I felt he was just a child like others, and I just made students to welcome him. They enjoy his company. They sympathize a lot, although he's getting independence now.
My name is Katiso Koza. I like to school because I like some subjects like English, math, bookkeeping, Sesotho, and science. I like to help another people because some Miriam answer was helping, but I want to help us again.
These two peoples with severe visual impairments also value the opportunity of going to school.
Ratang hulu sekolong ke maths. Hobane maths e batla le thuto e thata jwale ke batla e hlebe ona ke.
The subject that he likes best is maths, because he can just at the beginning he used the concrete objects. Everybody said that maths is very difficult, so he wants to try the difficult things and see if they are even difficult to the blind. He likes this school because the children in this school accept them as the human beings. They help them with everything that they need. They play with them, they eat with them, they help them with everything in the class. Even when they are in the resource center, they always accept that they are human beings like everybody.
The other children should be helped to develop positive attitudes. Teachers must discourage name-calling, teasing, and bullying.
So, for
the boys and girls who call them a blind, he doesn't like that name. He wants those children to call him by his name. And he said that he's going to tell them that he is like everybody. He likes them to accept him as he is, because to be blind doesn't mean that he's not a person. He doesn't mean that he does not belong to this world. Well, he belongs to this world
as everybody, not because he is blind.
When we are playing together, if he doesn't hear what we are saying, we always shake him or just touch him so that he realizes that we want to talk to him. And then sometimes, most often, we really use gestures, like when we say speak, we show it by signing, so he knows what we are saying, so he's able to understand what we want him to do. O rata ho bapala scotch le mokong. Scotch ke ho etsuwang jwang?
Ke ra ka tshekwana ka leoto.
O ra tshekwana ka leoto? I like to play scotch and marbles, but our marbles are made of stones. That is what we call the ketwana. It is a traditional game. No, they don't tease me. They don't do anything bad with me or about me. They are always very friendly. Given the opportunity, people with disabilities can make a success of their life, as these people will tell you.
I had an accident 6 years ago, and this accident left me on this situation that I will find myself to use this special shoe. That's why now, on this year or whenever I call myself one of disabilities person, NTTC, they accept me as one of the. I did everything they do there at NTTC, the practical, especially in the garden. I had to take a spade and dig the garden, and I used to do physical education with other. They take me as a normal person.
Then I moved into teaching. While I was also still teaching the same subject, which was mainly soil science and plant nutrition, which were my specialties. Then I was then promoted to other fields, because sometimes you may think you have the abilities, and other people looking at you, they will believe that you have other abilities which you yourself do not realize. So I became a project manager, running a development project. From there I became the director for agricultural services and also for extension, and then presently I'm working with the United Nations Development Program, running a project on environment, working with the grassroots communities.
To disabled person, especially the young one, I can say, if you are able to do a little thing, you can do it without being hesitate that you are disabled, to how the people might say. Just forget about the people's words and do what you are supposed to do. You will see that you can manage to do your things and reach the goals you aim to.
My children, I have great hopes for them, and I would like them to develop into the potentials that they have, the talents that they have. They should be developed, and I am determined to assist them in that. But as I have said earlier, I'm not prepared to assist them in such a way that they will be dependent on me, but I would like to assist them to be able to think for themselves, do things for themselves, and also be able to stand for their views, because unless they do that, life will not be good for them.
As many as 1 in 10 children can have some form of disability. They may have a problem with their arms or legs. Some have problems seeing, while others may not hear, and therefore they cannot speak clearly, using signs or finger spelling instead. Children can be mentally impaired. They are slow to develop and learn. Some, like this girl, have a genetic condition such as Down syndrome, while others will be handicapped as the result of cerebral palsy or after a childhood illness like meningitis. Quite a few will experience difficulty mastering educational skills such as reading and writing. With some children, their impairments are obvious, whereas with others, their disability can be hidden. Teachers may not realize the child has a problem. They may think the pupil is naughty and not give the extra help needed.
I'm listening to like I am a teacher at Lesotho Primary School. The roll of the school is 1,059. We have got more than 60 people who have got special disability and they need special need. We have got different people with different disabilities. Some have got physical disability, learning disability, visual impairment, and some have lack of hearing. Because at first we didn't notice the people with different disabilities, especially those who have got hearing impairment, visual impairment. We usually treat them as the so-called normal.
In this program, we show simple ways teachers can use to screen children for disabilities. These checks must be done from an early age and with all children when they first come to school. The sooner problems are identified, the sooner the child can be helped. Then the effects of their disability will be lessened. If possible, try to talk to the child's parents. Find out what problems the child has had and ask what the child can do at home. They kept giving her some medications because now she had developed epilepsy. Now, the attacks are sometimes after 4 months or after 3 months. He's still under medication. Jwale hona tje ka baka la ditho tse tsona ba ha o ka ba ba itsa letho ka tsona o tlolla jwalo jwalo ha so ka o tlolla. I was never referred to the physiotherapy. Visiting the home will also let you check if the family have enough food. Children who are malnourished often show marked developmental delays.
After getting the training from those of special education, we were eager to know about the children in the villages. So we visited one village, the nearby village. So we found that there is a mother with twins. The twins were malnourished. So we asked the help from those of social welfare. They assist with clothing, food, and then we made friends with the parents of the twins. They are visiting the school. We are visiting them to find or to see the progress of the children. So the twins are growing well now.
Most disabilities affect the child's physical, social, intellectual development. Teachers can use simple tests like this to find out if the child's development is delayed. We would expect most 4-year-old children to be able to do this activity, which tests their physical coordination. Four-year-olds should also be able to match shapes and arrange objects by size.
Naya fella. Aje? Naya fella. Halele tulwa nazibi. Usatla ziba. Ntsaye meka ha, ntsaye nyane, sheba, ntokile. Ntso sitiswa ke ntwe. Kenya ena pe. Kenya ena. Naya ken. Ya, Kenya.
Copying shapes and drawing a man are also good indicators of a child's developmental progress. Here is a way of assessing a child's understanding of language and their ability to remember instructions.
Oh.
Exercise.
Once teachers have identified what the child can or cannot do, they will then be able to adapt their class lessons for the child with delayed development.
Last year was my third year on NTDC, so it was very interesting to work with disabled children, even though it is very hard because they delay to cope with other children. I have got one which has got mental retardation. His name is Malfani. Coming to the numbers, it's very tough. Even the normal child, when writing the numbers, they get very confused. Just imagine this one. I tried to give him some bottle tops, put another bottle tops under those one and two, and put two bottle tops under two, and write three, and put three bottle tops under three. Count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
By observing the child, you can pick up clues about possible visual impairments. Does the child have sticky eyes? Do they screw up their eyes when reading? How do they hold a book? Close up or far away? And can they read if you move the book away from them?
Also, if the child is unable to see these little things clearly, there are such children in our classes where you say, "Can you tell me the name of whatever is written there?" And the child said, "I can't see. What's that?" I get it. Yet all other children can see what is written on the chalkboard, but that one really struggles to tell what is written.
It's clumsy movements.
I get it. That really shows that
there's a problem with this child. And appears to feel with feet and steps too high or too low when going up or down the stairs. You find the step is small, but
there are also a number of tests you can use to find out how well the child can see. For example, can she see to pick up small objects such as pins or thread small beads or string? Here is a way of checking children's distance vision. The E chart is placed 3 meters away from the child. She has to cover one eye and then show the direction of the E by pointing to the left or right, or up and down. As the letters get smaller, children with visual problems will begin to make mistakes. Teachers should still carry out these checks even if children already have been prescribed classes. They may still not be able to see well in class.
Can you read? I want somebody to answer my question.
If teachers suspect a child has a problem seeing, then he should sit at the front of the class and teachers should use larger print on the blackboard or worksheet.
It is very important to assess children's visual. I can say that because I've seen it in my class. If I did not assess them, I could not find their problems. It is very important to assess them. I have one girl in my class who has a visual problem. In fact, it is the only left eye which sees well. The right eye does not see, does not function at all. Even when I was assessing her, she cannot see with the right eye. When I found this problem, I changed her position in the class. When she first came here, she placed herself at the back. After finding out that she has problems, I changed the position. Now she is in front of the class.
Children who are slow to talk or whose speech is unclear should have their hearing checked. But many children also have minor hearing problems which often go undetected. These children will find it hard to hear in noisy classrooms, and when they fail to do their schoolwork, teachers may think they are not paying attention or that they are stupid. Here is how teachers can check children's hearing. Take the child to a quiet room if possible. Stand about 4 meters behind the child and to one side and softly make a sound. If he fails to turn his head to the sound, he may have problem hearing in that ear. Check the hearing in the other ear. Find out if the child reacts when his name is called. Here is another example of a child's hearing tested. If you suspect that a child has a hearing problem, have him sit at the front of the class, nearer the teacher. Teachers should try to be close to the child when giving instructions and show the child what he is to do by using gestures as well as words.
Yay! Good, very good. In pod. 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 You are good, Mamu. Emptied. Emptied.
Just to talk to them with, they look the sign, only to make the sign, come here, When they say come, you show how. Go back, sit down, stand up, write this word. Yeah.
And that helps them?
It helps a lot. When I found this ability child in my class, I sent the message to the family, the parents, and come together, and we spoke together. Speaking, this child seems not well. May we help her? May you go and see the doctor nearby? And the doctor advised us with the family agrees and helped me. The doctor agrees and help that child with cleaning the hearing one.
Quite a few children have problems with reading, writing, and number work. This could result from a general learning disability or perhaps a specific learning difficulty. For example, children can have a specific problem with reading but do well in other school subjects. Teachers can use reasoning tests like this to check out the child's difficulties. What is missing? This is what is missing, all right? Now let's come to the heads, okay? Look at the heads again, all right? And tell me which head is different. It's actually different. Okay, you should be happy. Here is actually those things. When I point at something, you tell me its name. All right? Speak up. Very good. Very good. What's the truth? Fish was it? One of fish. One fish. One of the fish. What was a more like a fish in the good. Now what is it? Fish in the soup. It's hard. Now is this cat? Alright. Show me a snake. You look at the snake and show me the snake. Snake. Show me the snake. No, point to the snake. Point to the snake. Okay, point to the cat. Very good. Point to the pig. Very good. Point to the goat. Cat. Point to the pig. Point to the hen. Point to the snake. You can speak English very, very well. What is this boy doing? Suitcase. Where is the ball? The ball is. The ball is box. Is it in the box or near the box or outside the box? Okay. What is this girl doing? This girl is inside. This girl is sweeping. He's sweeping. What about this one? This girl is sweeping. Wait, what about this one? This girl is... You will know this one. Okay. I want you to read here, and then read here, and then read here. Right? Okay. Sitting. Let's read it again. Okay. She is reading. Okay. Children who have difficulty with all these tests probably have a general learning disability. If, however, children do well on the reasoning and naming tests, but still have problems with reading, writing, or numbers, their difficulties are more specific. Once teachers are aware of a child's problems, their lesson plans can be adapted so that children are given the specific help they need.
B, C, P.
Okay, Mzeki manye. Mzeki ma. Ha re fete mbe tsena. Bua holo?
E.
Aha. Ye ke mang?
A.
Children who are identified as possibly having a problem should be referred for further assessment. If the child has problem with limbs or moving around, they should be seen by a physiotherapist. Children with possible visual or hearing problems should be referred to a clinic or hospital for further examination.
We see about between 100 and 150 patients a day coming from all over the country, and this room especially is used for hearing testing, and there are two types of tests that are being done here. One, the tympanometry, that is in children, usually in children where there is a hearing defect. Normally when the children come with complications with untreated cold, the infection tends to spread through the eustachian tube into the middle ear. That gives rise to a hearing loss temporarily. So initially we treat them with a course of antibiotics, call them after 2 weeks, just check how the tympanic membrane is. If the tympanic membrane is still dull, we take him for a hearing test, and that is what we do here. But now when we have a problem with the nerves, then we go on to do the sensorineural testing, and the testing that we do is audiometry. That is usually for older age groups, where we test the inner ear, where there is some defect with the nerves. And when there is inner ear hearing loss, that is when a child has to be given a hearing aid. So what we do is we test the hearing, we find out exactly what the defect is, and then we prescribe hearing aids. Before that, we take a ear impression of the child, and we prescribe the hearing aids. The hearing aids are partly paid by the patient and partly by the government. But if the child or the patient is too poor to pay, the social welfare department takes care, and the entire cost is met with by the social welfare department.
Children with learning difficulties should be assessed by a psychologist if possible, or advice sought for a more experienced teacher.
So she has been to see a doctor, and it has improved her hearing.
Teachers should keep records of their assessments so that they can give detailed information about the child when they come to complete the referral form. Teachers are well placed to identify children's disabilities. The sooner this is done, the more chance we have of preventing child's disabilities from becoming a handicap.